Hey YouTube, this is the Duke. I know. It says the Duke. And I'm Richard Sir Salverston. And wow, the past is past, the future is upon us. The beginning of the Golden Knight season has been miraculous. And it, it really defies imagination. When I went ahead and was commenting in preseason, I was basically saying, there's a fair chance they'd be the worst team. I don't think they'd be the worst team, but because whenever you have a league that's got the Phoenix Coyotes and the Colorado Avalanche and a couple other poor teams, it's really hard to see what George McPhee's going to be able to put together is not going to be the worst team in the league. I was thinking it'd probably be the 27th or 28th team in the league. And I thought, well, if things really go well, it could be playing meaningful games in October, December, but probably not get into the playoffs. And there'd be like a 1% chance, if magic happens, that they'd have a chance to get into the playoffs. God, magic is happening at a level I never thought it would. And we'll talk about that later. Anyway, I wanted to do a little quick preview. Of course, the long road stand to start the season is over, and now it's the long road trip. Go 6 games on the road on the East Coast, 3 south of the border, 3 north of the border. Come home for 1 game and then go out for another road trip. So they're going to be really paying for having that long homestand at the early part of the season. Of course, it's not the first road trips. The team started with a back-to-back road trip. They played Dallas Stars, a team that a lot of people thought might be challenging for a Stanley Cup this year. They've actually been very up and very down. They're in a playoff space right now if the playoffs started today, but they did get a win. And then they did the back-to-back and played the Phoenix Coyotes, which has been a complete train wreck. Haven't won a game, and of course they won that game. And so they continued on, surprisingly 2 wins to start the season. Went home and continued doing business, and now they're currently 8-1 with the best record in the history of expansion teams by far. Here's an interesting fact, because the second place teams as far as best record for expansion teams were the LA Kings and the New York Rangers. When they went ahead, when those teams came in, they got their 8th win in their 17th game. So think about this, phones. If the Vegas Golden Knights lose every single one of their next 9 games, they still will be setting a record for the best start in the history of an expansion test, even if they lose the next 9 games. Weird stuff. I mean, you just can't make this up. Anyway, so I'm going to break these up into some sections. This first one I want to talk about is the first back-to-back, which is in New York. First on Monday they play the Islanders. Second, next day they play the Rangers. And I'll talk about a few things. I'll talk about the Islanders and the Rangers a little bit, and then I'll talk about some other things in a couple of different vlogs as we go along. First game, Islanders. The Islanders, they were getting beat, and then all of a sudden, the last several games they've caught on. They've won several games. Last night they went ahead and beat the Predators 6-2. So they've definitely come on, and they're playing much better. They are shipping a lot of goals. They're still having issues with defense. They're having some goalkeeping issues, but they're getting wins. Part of it has been they've been scoring goals. Tavares has just been a beast the last couple of games. He got a hat trick last night against the Predators. That's his second hat trick in 3 games. He's on a roll. He's hot, and he can go ahead and take care of a game all by himself. And so that's something that the Vegas Golden Knights are going to have to watch for. The Islanders, I think, are capable of getting to the playoffs, but they have to get more consistent. especially on defense. Their defense really hasn't been that good. Um, and there's a little bit of a criticism also on the wins that they've been having recently, simply because they haven't really been beating anybody that you would consider an impressive win. They beat the Rangers, they beat the Coyotes, they beat the Wild, they beat the Predators, and all of those teams have been either bad, like the Coyotes and the Rangers, or they've been inconsistent, like the Wild, who's had lots of injuries and they've been kind of up and down. And the Predators have been the ultra up and down team. One night they're fantastic, the next day they are just garbage, and they happen to be garbage when the Islanders played them. But they've got the wins, and they've got a winning record, and they've, have some of their stars are starting to really pop out on it. So they're a dangerous team. Um, a couple of things going in for the Vegas Golden Knights, though, is they're just one of the best defensive teams. They're the number 3 defensive team as far as goal scoring in the league. They and here you never would have figured this one out, but now going into this weekend, the Golden Knights have 3 of the top 13 goalies in the league, as based on save percentage and goals against average. The number 1 in the league, Oscar Dansk. Yes, Oscar Dansk, the guy who's been kicked aside by a couple of different clubs and was picked up by Vegas, and was figuring that he was, has not played a minute of NHL hockey before now, but Pryor, the goalie coach or the goalie whisperer for the Vegas Golden Knights, has gotten him going. He's playing some uh, very good work in front of the net. The defense is playing very well for him, and that's just been an ongoing thing throughout the start for Vegas. They've been playing outstanding team defense, up and down. They're a very hardworking bunch. They're a fast skating bunch, so even when they make a mistake, they can close it down and fix their mistakes very quickly. And so I think they match up well with the Islanders. The Islanders obviously overmatch Vegas as far as top end talent. They don't have anybody to match Tavares or anyone like that, but just up and down, a lot of times it's the third and fourth line for Vegas who is beating the other teams, and I think that's where the advantage is. The other advantage is Vegas has been just kind of pedestrian. They're kind of middle of the league average in performance in the first period and the third period, but they're top of the league in the second period and in overtime. And the significance of that is, of course, that's when they flip sides, and that's when they have what they call the long shift, because the place where the players come out to go ahead and change lines is farther away from your net in the second period and in overtime. And in those situations, Vegas is just killing other teams. It gives an advantage to a team that's well coached. It gives an advantage to a team that's aggressive. It gives an advantage to a team that is fast skating. And Vegas is all those things, and they're just killing it. I forget the exact numbers, but I think Vegas is outscoring teams. It's either 15-2 or 17-2 in the second period in 9 games. They're just destroying teams in the second period, and they're undefeated overtime, which has the same situation as far as the ice. So they're getting by in the first period, they're getting by in the third period, and they're just destroying teams in the second period and in overtime. So that's where the success for Vegas has been. So I think it matches up fairly well with Vegas. It's, of course, it's first time away for a while. Islanders just coming off a really good win where they spanked the Predators, so they're good. So it's going to be interesting. It can go a lot of different ways. After that, next night it's the Rangers. And Rangers have just been a train wreck. You're looking at the Rangers and you're looking, is there anyone who's really playing good? And it's kind of hard to pick anyone out. The defense has been bad. They've been struggling on special teams. Goalkeeping has been bad. It's been, just about up and down. Everything just seems to be a struggle. And it's kind of a head scratcher because they have some talent on there. It's just not working. It's not gelling together. They're going to end up doing a coaching or a GM change to try to kick it up. Because the trouble is they're pretty limited on what they can do. They're really salary cap out. Um, there's been some talk of that the Rangers might try to pick up Shipachyov, but the trouble is how do you put Shipachyov's $4.5 million cap hit in the Rangers roster? It's just, they're just tied down with contracts that are not friendly to the team, that the play is not good, the team just doesn't seem to have any chemistry, and they've had a couple of wins here and there, but overall it's just been pretty ugly, uh, which of course is the perfect trap day because if the Golden Knights have just had a tough game the night before with the Islanders, and then they have the second game. Who knows? Maybe they try using career minor leaguer Maxime Lagasse in the pipes just to give Danska a break between the back to back. That could be a shifty one too. Uh, Going into the year, I would have thought that going into the East Coast, I would have thought that if Las Vegas could win 2 games on the East Coast swing, that would be fantastic. And then they started getting better. I was thinking, well, if they can win 3 games, it'd be fantastic. I think they have a chance to win 4 games, or at least get points off of 4 games on this. I think they can get points off the Senators later on. I think Toronto, that's a tough one. The Habs, I think, are another train wreck. That's starting to get better though, but they're still a train wreck. Rangers are a train wreck. Boston has just been struggling terribly. So the most of the teams they're playing on this particular road trip aren't that scary, and Lord knows Vegas has been playing fantastically well. So we'll have to see how it goes. It's a new challenge. Who knows what's going to happen? The wheels might come off. A lot of people are still saying, "Oh, they're an expansion team. The wheels are going to fly off." More and more people are starting to say, these guys, this is a good team. They're playing well. Still hard to think of them as a playoff team. So at some point they're going to start losing games, and it's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens when Vegas does lose a couple of games, how they react to it. So we'll have to see. Anyway, Monday, Islanders. Should be a tough game. After that, Rangers. It just keeps moving on, guys. So let's see how it goes. Let's see who prevails. And go Knights go.